why I can't go out without changing my clothes, my shoes, my body posture. I can't do what I want to do with my own body, and who in the hell set things up like this? I was wrong again to be me being me where I was. Wrong to be who I am. I am very familiar with the problems of the CIA, and the problems of white America in general, and the problems of the teachers and the preachers and the FBI and the social workers and my particular mom and dad. I am very familiar with the problems because the problems turn out to be me. I am the history of the terrorized incarceration of myself. I am the history of battery, assault, and limitless armies against whatever I want to do with my mind and my body and my soul. I am not wrong. Wrong is not my name. And I can't tell you who the hell set things up like this, but I can tell you that from now on, my resistance, my simple and daily and nightly self-determination may very well cost you your life.
Your life. Your life. Your life. Charity.
Happy Friday. End of the month.
It's the end of the month.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.
I got my check today.
I did though. I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It needs a song too. Yeah.
It does.
End of the month definitely
End of the
needs a
month
song.
needs a song.
Because we made it.
Oh gosh.
It's the longest month of the year.
And it felt like it, man. This has been the longest decade ever.
Yes.
And by decade, I mean past 3 weeks.
Yes. It has been years of a month. For sure.
Yes.
For sure. I thought yesterday was Friday and August. And I was like, wait, no. Neither of those are true. But here we are,
This week has been years in the making. Oh, goodness. What's happening in your Black girl world?
Somebody asked right off the bat. Hey, Brittany, what is the intro music? That's a June Jordan poem set to the musical stylings created by our producer.
Yeah, it's really cool. Every time it comes on, I just be like, yeah.
Me too. It sets the tone.
It does.
It really does. And June Jordan is one of my favorite people,
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to perfect the perfect boiled egg. That's all.
Okay.
That, I was told I should get more protein in my diet, especially in the morning. Okay. Because as somebody that writes and does a lot of, things in the morning, like fueling my body with protein is what I've been told is a good idea.
Okay.
So, yeah, boiled eggs they're trickier than they should be.
Yeah, there are often tutorials about boiled eggs.
I know. I've been in there. Yep.
Do you boil it and drop it in cool water?
Yeah, sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Oh,
right.
The science
experiment. Yeah, somebody was like, just buy the bag of already boiled eggs. No, I want to learn.
Yeah.
I want to master this. Have you tried poaching? No.
Well, I don't think we could jump over to poaching before we master boiling, friends.
Yeah, see, that's what it is. I can't be trusted with time. That's it. That's exactly what it is. Because if you put the eggs in the water when you turn the pot on to boil, then you got to add a certain number of minutes to the time. And then if you don't take them off at the time because the water's still hot, I'm gonna need like 3 timers to get it. Yeah, wow. Poaching is way more advanced.
I don't eat eggs. So.
At all? Oh, you don't. We had this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I will eat a frittata.
Yeah.
I will eat a frittata or a quiche. And of course, people are gonna be like, that's egg. But it has a whole lot of other stuff in it. eggs, it's the texture. I mean, well, you know this
Mhm.
about me. For me, it's texture about any food. And
Yeah,
I don't, unless it's in a quiche, a frittata, or a cake, you keep that egg.
yeah. So that's really me. I think, there's lessons here, patience and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I'll write a treatise about it later. Taste and texture for me with eggs. Dang, all the egg hatred over here. That's
And then, when they are overcooked, that sulfur smell they emit.
Oh, see, I haven't messed. Well, I know what you're talking about. I haven't messed them up that bad yet.
That's why a lot of people think
Oh, what
they
is
don't
it?
like Brussels sprouts, because once overcooked, they smell like sulfur bombs.
That's a fact. Runny. Now I don't like a runny yolk. I don't do that. That's why I can't be so much of a level of a foodie. Cause some of the stuff they be like, oh, and once you do this, I'm like, I'll never eat that.
No, but if you don't like, you could still be a foodie, and there are things that you just don't care for. Like that's
Yeah, but I don't eat like pork. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a big foodie thing about, you know,
yeah,
bone broth and tallow and all the red meat things that I just don't.
yeah,
It's okay though.
it's okay. Um, my
Yeah,
black girl world.
what's the word in your black girl world?
uh, so one is rest. We the office closes for 2 weeks. Um, starting Monday,
Brum, 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 brum.
and of course, we talk about rest and how important it is. Woo, woo, woo. But the thing I was just thinking before we started is, well, one, like I recommend rest. People should rest. But when there is a difference between rest and time off.
Yup.
And we are closing the office, and I hope for most people it will be a time of rest, but I very quickly recognize that mine is just a time away from work, because the 2 weeks have pretty much already, the first week is already filled up. I have to go to a conference. Um, I have to go to a birthday party, which is not here. I know some people like it's just a party, but I have to drive hours to get to the party. Um, and I need to do some stuff around the house. And so, it's just like I recommend rest. Time off is useful, but rest is more important.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah.
And I think I can't remember where I found it. It was years ago, but the idea that like you got to figure out what type of rest you need.
Mm-hmm.
So like if the physical tiredness isn't the thing that's draining you, physical rest may not be the thing that recharges you,
Mm-hmm.
right? If
Mm-hmm.
you're mentally drained, you know what I mean? So I think one of the things is also figuring out like what kind of rest do I need? What do I need rest from? And then like what actually feels restful? Cuz I'm not a like sit around and do like nothing person as rest. Cuz all I'm doing while I'm sitting is thinking about all the stuff I need to do when I get up,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'd be like, "Oh, while I'm sitting here, I'm making lists and trying to organize and plan out." I'm like, that's not what I that's not what I was supposed to be doing. So but yeah, rest is super important. I'm learning. Some people are really good at using their calendars to set boundaries, right? I'm not, but
I'm
I've
definitely
seen
better
it
at
in
it than I used
practice.
to be.
Yeah, I've seen it in practice, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yep, it does say busy.
Oh, you
Gotcha.
really not gonna do nothing? Them two.
Hmm.
Okay then. Okay.
Yep, dang, you really not. It's not flexible busy. Like,
Yeah.
dang, I respect that. Yep.
I think another thing, it's not necessarily my black girl world. Maybe it's like our black girl world, our black world. Is this conversation that's been a buzz, which actually it could pretty much very easily lead us into what we're going to talk about today. about the Tuskegee memo, email, whatever it was about bonnets, don't wear bonnets and pajamas to class. And there, I know you are very good at muting things on threads. One of the things that I have found that even if you don't click on things or mute things, some kind of way things still show up. They're still going
You
to
got to
show up.
click the following tab.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that later. So I've just been seeing so much hullabaloo, people on one end of the spectrum or the other about bonnets and pajamas in class. And the other day, during lunch at work, we talked a little bit about it. And I mean, everybody gets to have an opinion. Yeah, I think, it's like a human right. You can have an opinion. Here's the
Oh,
thing though.
yes, you can have one, but you don't have to
Yes.
voice it. Agree.
Yeah, everyone gets to have an opinion. I don't want to hear everyone's opinion. And that is so when we start throwing around, terms and don't have context or true understanding for terms, but we are like pretending that we are grounding our opinions in like study and fact and research. And I don't even mean your kind of research, just like let me read several things. Like I don't like it. I don't like it. And so you you don't get to have an opinion about this because you graduated from a PWI, or you don't. Is it professional to the kids at Harvard? I guarantee you they don't wear pajamas to class. Yes, they do.
Yeah, this is why I don't have these conversations with people, because here's my issue. So real quick, the follow thing is when you follow, when you're on threads,
Mm-hmm.
the algorithm is showing you stuff.
Yeah.
You have to click a tab that says follow, and it'll only show you stuff from the people you actually follow.
Oh, okay, okay,
Because otherwise you're in the zeitgeist of whatever is popular that other people are talking about. So click the
okay.
following tab, and it'll only show you the stuff from people you actually follow.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'll mute everything. But to your point, my biggest issue, I'm not on social media at all right now. I don't know if and when I'll return. But my issue is that and this definitely segues into our conversation, our major topic, but my issue is that people get on social media with an entry point and don't acknowledge that the conversation they're having existed before their entry point, right?
Yeah.
Like, the famous Mao quote, no investigation, no right to speak,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're at the point where people just jump on social media, and again, things they probably should be writing in their journal, they're trying to introduce in the conversation. Because here's the thing, I'm gonna make this super quick.
Make America journal again.
Please do. Please do. And so, one, people know this by now, I taught at HBCU, a private one, and they had a long-standing dress code policy, as most private HBCUs do and have had for generations. Um, I remember when I was in school, the big thing was when Hampton was requiring people to wear business stuff if they were a business major. This was in the early 2000s, right? So the folks entering the conversation about private conservative HBCUs and the dress code in 2026 are entering the conversation like these schools haven't had dress codes for generations. Like, and that's what bothers me, especially as somebody who taught and saw the kids, like, for this long really try to fight, like, we want to wear our bonnets and we want to wear our pajamas, and there y'all are pushing respectability. And they had to be reminded, you came to not only a private but a private Catholic Black school in, like, conservative Christian world.
In the
This is not
South.
this is yeah this is not the place where you come to express your individuality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's never been what this place has been about. I think what people don't understand about a lot of HBCUs specifically is the things we celebrate and the awesome things that they've done or that have happened are actually aberrations to the way that they're designed to operate.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see a group of super politically charged students that come through and realize that the 4 to 6 years they were there was an aberration in a longer trajectory, right? So I just been like, so many people have been hitting me up about that. But me and a friend of mine had a quick conversation about how, but you could do, like, you could not go there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You could not go there, and I want us to stop confusing. And this is not advocating one way or another, but I do want us as a collective to stop confusing expectations and standards for oppression and white supremacy. Like,
Yeah, 100%. No
not the
notes.
same thing.
And to the point, it says, I'm just very confused by the wardrobe convo because ain't school supposed to prepare you for work? These kids ain't trying to go to work. These kids are trying to go. These kids are at these HBCUs for vibes, right? And I say that as a person who taught at one and saw, like, the class. Like, if you look at Different World, how many times was they in class during the whole show? It was one episode where Gina had HIV. It was one episode where Lena faked the paper.
And they put the sign on what's her face's back.
Frank-
Digit hole.
Oh yes, right. So I say that to say they're not at the HBCUs for the rigor and engagement in Black intellectual traditions and how to become radicalized. They're going there because that's where they feel the vibes are. And to not be able to wear what they want.
At least some people.
Oh, no. The people I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I'm only talking about the people I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the people I'm not talking about. Right. But I say that because there's also a generational thing. Right. And again, not all, because we're talking about the folks who are specifically there complaining about standards being white supremacy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea of this freedom of choice and wearing what they want. Not all HBCU students, these ones. Right.
Yeah.
So I say that because there's also a generational thing. I don't wear outside clothes inside or inside clothes outside. So the idea of putting on pajama clothes as my outerwear is just not something that I would do. I understand that generationally, a lot of the young people just do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think their expectation for the world to conform to that is asinine.
Okay. So let's take this into a broader conversation. So last time we were together, we talked about taste. Who defines taste? Today we're going to talk about who gets to be an intellectual, a public intellectual. And I think I hope we can all agree, at least it's not anybody who has an opinion. But
no, I think we're there. We're to the point where you can have a strong enough opinion, and if enough people believe it as true and reliable, you can very easily become seen as a public intellectual. I honestly don't think public intellectualism amongst Black people actually exists now in the way that I understand it. Because of that reason, right? If you just talk well and have an audience and make points, you can be valued as a public intellectual to the point where someone will use your YouTube clip to critique a scholar who's written papers and books on the topic
and researched and whatever. And you can disagree. You can disagree. Like, that's fine. Disagree. But we can't discount the rigor and research that someone the process someone went to come to the conclusion that they drew.
100%.
Okay, so first we want to talk just a smidge about an amazing woman who was a civil rights activist, got tossed out of school, which is, was pretty common for folks then, for being such a loud and I'm trying to think of a word, being the type of activist that people followed, right? Not just I'm loud and proud, but just like had people listening to him. She is a sociologist, went on to become for a little while the president of a university, like public trajectory to watch, and that person is Joyce A. Ladner.
Where's our studio clap?
Some say you do you agree? Oh, we got it. That Joyce Ladner is the first person to, or the first Black woman to write a sociology book. Do you call her that?
No.
Do you give her that?
Here's the thing. I think it's a little more specific than that. I think
Okay.
So no, not that, but should I say or let you finish?
No, go ahead.
So I consider Joyce Ladner the first Black woman, I guess I would say, trained in sociology who didn't use white people as a control. Right. To be a little bit more specific, unfortunately, she edited this great volume called The Death of White Sociology, right? One of my favorite books. One of the reasons that I was comfortable going to grad school and pursuing sociology as opposed to some other disciplines. But so in sociology, where white sociology trains you essentially to set whiteness as normative, right? To set whiteness as the control group that every other variable is measured in comparison to. So when we're looking at education rates, white education rates are the norm, and then all other racialized groups are compared to the white norm. So for me, Joyce Ladner's Tomorrow's Tomorrow was one of the first books I ever read that study Black girls in and of themselves, not compared to white girls, not compared to Black boys, but just centering Black girls and their experiences as the study. It wasn't, she wasn't trying to necessarily say as compared to, because she was acknowledging y'all have already made all the comparisons, but nobody's actually looking at Black girls and their
just
experience.
The group.
Yeah. So her work shaped the way I wrote my dissertation on Black girls that played D1 college basketball, right? I used her work to fight for the fact that I didn't need to use white people as a control group for my study. So 100%.
I think even the fact that, so we know that this was her first book, Tomorrow's Tomorrow, and this book grew from her dissertation. But I even love the fact that the book's title is Tomorrow's Tomorrow. The Black woman is the black women. That's what it's called. Colon Black women. Like, just this is what it is.
And it's so timely, right? Because you got her book coming out on the back of the Moynihan report, right? Which was a report commissioned by the government that said that after the Civil Rights Act was passed, that the biggest barrier for Black families was not discrimination, but it was a non-normative family structure because Black women worked outside the home, right? So that was taken as the gospel into
Mm-hmm.
how post segregation Black families need to get on par with what white families are doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, well, Black women need to go back into the home. Like that was a prevailing viewpoint about how to pursue equality to white folks post civil rights. So for her book to be called Tomorrow's Tomorrow, the Black woman, it's like y'all have missed the whole thing, and I'm gonna use this to just kind of set y'all right.
So I would to that I want to read a quote. Um, she says, "I decided whose side I was on. As a Black social scientist, I must take a stand on that there could be no value-free sanctuary for me. Like just from the jump. This we're not even in chapter 1 when she's talking about this. This is in the forward. Like let me tell you how I got here.
Yep.
And this is to your point about where in history this work is situated. This is before terms like intersectionality. um we weren't decolonizing research at that time. Like none of this was mainstream.
Listen, when I took this book to the folks on my committee, nobody had read it. No, nobody had read it, right? So yeah, 100%, 100%.
Okay, so here's my first question. I wrote it down. What are we saying to people who think researchers and intellectuals can't be taken seriously when they're too close to the alleged problem?
I, I don't I don't acknowledge those people
Mm.
because there's a presumption then, because here's the problem with that. If being too close to something is a problem, then either you're saying you need to be far from it, right? Or you should be saying that being close and far from it should equally both be problems, right? But to problematize being close to something without problematizing being far from something, but I know that's a tool of whiteness in epistemology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm to the point where if that's your viewpoint, I can't have a conversation with you because then you're not going to value the research I do. Like if that's what you believe,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to engage with you because you also not my audience,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whether or not you believe my research is valid or valuable because I'm a Black woman who studied Black girls, women, and Black communities, I'm not talking to you no way. So I
It's
don't, you know
it's
what I
also
mean?
saying you're not far enough away from the whatever it is to pathologize it. Because a lot of the work, research that we read, mainstream, not you or Lawanda or Rhonda or whoever, like it is done strictly to pathologize groups of people. Here's
Yeah.
the problem.
And ugh, it's it's also intended to normalize the pathology of the dominant group.
Hmm.
So it's not just
Which is the true
pathologizing.
pathology.
Right, right. I mean, it's a smooth con. If I get to write the story, I'ma project all of my pathologies onto y'all. And then I'm going to show how what you're looking at is evidence of a pathology that I really don't even have any authority to determine. But this is the premise under which I was like, yeah, I got to do the social science stuff because you're not going to use numbers to trick me because I'm going to know the numbers just as well as you do. Actually, I
Hmm.
have to know the numbers better than you do, right? Um, that's why to the point where it gets annoying to people, I'm super big on the process, the method, the rigor of empirical research, right? And understanding canons of theoretical frameworks and stuff, because that's the part that gets looked over when we give credit to people for their opinions. You know, in the book study we're doing with the girls in the BGR, the Black Girl Research Institute, I continually have to remind them, like, we went through one chapter, and Dr. Noble has like 96 endnotes, right? So if she has 96 things she's citing to write these 30 pages, this is letting you know how much she's considered and been in conversation with and consulted to come to the points that she's making to us, right? And you can't skip that part and just say what you feel or what you've heard other people say. But that's the part that gets skipped.
So, what is public intellectualism? And I mean, we kind of touched on this a little already, but what's Joyce Ladner got to do with it?
So I wouldn't call Joyce Ladner a public intellectual, because I think she just came along too early for the public to engage intellectualism as it did. Had she come through when Donahue was having people on the show all the time, you know, she would have definitely been in that.
Mm-hmm.
But what she does is she sets up, I don't know. I think you can answer that question better than me, because I wouldn't consider her a public intellectual. But because I define public intellectuals as, first of all, we have to talk about the difference between a Black public intellectual, right? Because I don't really know what white public intellectuals do. But I believe
You never
that
heard of Charlie Kirk? Go
that's
ahead. Go ahead.
crazy.
Go ahead.
Whoa.
Go
Whoa.
ahead. Sorry.
Whoa. I have to recover. Family, what have you done? Jesus.
Oh gosh. Go ahead. Sorry.
So many reasons. I'm not okay.
Oh gosh.
But when I think about public intellectuals, I think about, there's two aspects, right? Because they're the people who have been made accessible to us through media, and we're talking about the public sphere in that way, right? Those are the folks who do the interviews, and then there's public intellectuals in a way that were speaking to the conditions of Black communities with their work and what they intend their work to do, right? So in one way, public intellectuals are folks, like, I consider the stuff that I do specifically intended to be put into action by Black folks in Black communities, right? I don't think that's the same as the people who, oh, it's two different things. That's what it is. I distinguish intellectual and academic, right? Academics are people whose loyalty and audience is the ivory tower primarily. Now they can be public as well, but I think the intellectual part is more so concerned with the studying of actual issues.
Oh, right? See, that's why I think Ladner is a public intellectual. That's really
yeah, and that's why I was like, I think once I wrestled through the
yeah,
because there's two types. It's one, people who are front facing media wise, and then it's two, people whose research is intended for the community to use. Right? I think there's two different ways to look at that.
And I think media wasn't mediaing during her time, right? So what we have is a person who is doing work for community to consume, also offering ideas, frameworks, solutions perhaps, and occupying that space and occupying the space of academia. So in that way, I think she is unique. And I don't mean unique like the only one, but unique like there are only a very small group of people, and I think you are one. There are only a small group of people who occupy both spaces well, and I think to your point, if so, that's why we have like I'm trying to see if I want to say this. I think Ladner is a Crenshaw before there was a Crenshaw, but there is no machine. That's not the best word, but machine to push her. And this is not about like what you agree or disagree or whatever with about Crenshaw, but it's just like, I mean, white people all the time are like, let's use an intersectional framework.
I think the difference for me is Kimberly Crenshaw doesn't purport or have ever really participated in like grassroots stuff. That's for me, that's the difference. Like,
Yeah.
I remember encountering Joyce Ladner when I wrote a book chapter recently, when I was talking about the way that her generation was I don't like the term radicalized, but that fits here. Like radicalized by the murder of Emmett Till.
Mm-hmm. She
And
talks about that in the book.
And that's why a lot of them joined SNCC.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I haven't read Kimberly Crenshaw's memoir, but with my knowledge of her, she hasn't stepped out of academia except to do like interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I ride with that.
There's a difference too, and this is why Joyce Ladner is one of my heroes, is because she took the teaching part kind of seriously. And I don't think people know this about the majority of folks who are scholars in academia. They don't care too much about the teaching part. Like they don't. And they'll tell you like, dang, if I got to teach 3 classes, like that's too much for me. Right. I taught a 5-5 and then a 4-4.
Like that's crazy to me. Teaching,
but the teaching is the thing that like allows me to ensure that I'm engaging with the community and the people on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So for me, that's where people like Joyce Ladner become public, not media public. But if I'm in, I used to get in trouble because I used to just invite people to sit in my class. Hey, we're talking about understanding social class. If you know anybody that wants to just sit in, you could bring them up here.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, you need to have them enroll in the class if they're gonna sit in. I'm teaching at a community college. If 3 or 4 people bring a cousin or a friend or somebody, like, I like that.
We got chairs, don't it?
Don't we? But I think that for me, that's the part, and that's why I say we don't really have public intellectuals in that tradition anymore.
Okay, so what is, and this is not, I'm not trying to be funny or like get out on anybody.
I'm gonna laugh. So
no, but like, what is Deontay Kyle?
No. Why did you bring his name up in this conversation?
Because
he is a talking head.
And
that's not to disrespect him, but he is a talking head.
That's why I said I wasn't being funny.
He doesn't get to come up in a conversation of intellectual like because I've seen how quickly he gets out of his depth on things that, this is gonna sound crazy and I don't care, but like sometimes when he speaks, it doesn't sound like he's read the books that he has stacked up on his desk.
That don't sound crazy. I mean, depending on who you are and what your aesthetic is, what your taste is, books are just decoration.
They do make good decoration.
Yeah.
But like he be having like Yurugu and Asada, and I'm not saying that he hasn't read them, but reading something and studying something are not the same thing. Because if you're studying something, you can't study a book on its own. If you're studying something, you have to put it in conversation with other books that are written on the topic, that are written at the time. You know what I mean? So I don't think, but We don't have public intellectuals in that way anymore. What we have is academic influencers. And
Okay,
that's
well,
a
tell me this.
different
Tell
thing.
me this. What are the responsibilities of a public intellectual?
One, I think the responsibilities of a public intellectual, a black public intellectual, are
Yeah.
to have a commitment to doing research that matters.
So you have to be a researcher. And do you mean researcher in the Charity Clay sense of the word, or do you mean researcher as in I'm reading this book uh and it is in conversation with this other book that I'm reading?
It depends on what your topic is, right? If you're a philosopher, you're not going to do empirical research,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it depends, but whatever it is, the study has to be uh the studying has to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Um I think too, making sure you create ways for that research, those findings, those analyses to be accessible and digestible to your community. Those are the two things, right? And when I say like digestible, also like, okay, how do I use this? Because intersectionality, um, I would say because Kimberly Crenshaw is not a public intellectual, it has been intersectionality is like the ocean spray cranberry juice. Like you'll have a baby with any, like all the mixes, right? Like this ocean spray
Why
mango,
would you
ocean spray
say
peach.
that?
Because
What?
intersectionality, like you can use intersectionality to talk about the different ways that white nationalists understand themselves at this point. It has
Gosh.
gotten so far from the legal framework it was initially intended to be. It was never intended to be a theoretical model for anything. It was a concept that was part of a legal argument,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Down there at the
But
good Exxon.
right.
Was it Exxon or Texaco? Exxon, I think.
But because she wasn't engaging communities to say, this is what I'm giving y'all, this is how I would like it to be used, it started swirling around academia, and like everybody grabbed a hold of it. And she was never like, hey, wait, that's not what I'm doing. Right? Let me set y'all straight if y'all are gonna use this. Because she just continued to stay in academia and kind of like, hey, however y'all use it, I appreciate y'all using what I'm giving y'all. And however y'all use it, it's continuing the discourse, right? People can critique each other on the use of it, but I'm not gonna necessarily be involved in how to actualize it in community.
So you think a part of the responsibility is to, once something has bubbled up, if it bubbles up and it is being bastardized, you think that I, as a public intellectual, have a responsibility to correct people and
I
not be just grateful that a framework I offered up is part of the cultural zeitgeist.
I think that, and I think this is where my distinction comes in, right? Because if your aim is to be cited and
Mm-hmm.
credited, then you don't necessarily care how people are talking about your thing because they're talking about it. If you care about the ways that it is being used by Black people trying to wrestle with oppression and figure out ways to pursue liberation, I do think it's your responsibility. I feel similarly about Afro pessimism because that is also something that people just use to to just everything is Afro. Just like everything was intersectionality, like now everything is becoming Afro pessimist. And I don't think that there are a lot of public intellectuals that do Afro pessimism work. One, because the majority of the writing is not written in a way that's digestible to the general public, right? And they're also
I struggle with it.
me
Sometimes,
too.
like sometimes like I don't know. I understand every word in this paragraph, independent of all the other words in this paragraph. But when you put these together, I don't know what you're talking about, ma'am. I don't know what you're
And you're
talking
not
about, sir.
you can't be talking to me. I can tell you're talking about me,
Yeah,
but you can't be talking to me
but maybe
because you
just
would need,
die. Is that what you're offering? Just die?
and you're offering that to white people. Because if you offering that to us as black people, then you really like you might be a op. If you're offering that to tell us that like white people want you to die, the crazy thing is we've been you definitely not the
We been through that.
if you're any part of like the lived experience or the intellectual tradition of like radical black people, you already know that. So you can't be talking to us. You got to be talking to the people in the ivory tower who need to be shocked. They need to be jolted, in the words of Strange, like they need to be shaken into this understanding. I don't need to be shaken into that understanding.
But
Perhaps
also,
some of
I
the white
think,
colleagues I've had need to be, but to what end?
yeah, I mean, they don't really care though, do they?
They don't. But that's a great way to make a long career.
Okay, so who gets to decide what the problem is?
What you mean?
Who gets to decide what the problem is?
I
And let me add, and is part of the responsibility of the, I'm just going to keep using the word even though we've been dissecting it. The public intellectual is a part of their responsibility to come up with solutions to the problem. Or can they just keep naming a problem?
No, they can. Well, here's the thing: you can do whatever you want, but for me, that's how I distinguish who's trying to hustle. Right. One
Mm.
of the things that I've noticed, and again, I'm off social media because I just got to the point where it is bothersome. Because once a point gets made, not everybody, but when I say everybody, I mean everybody who's trying to be an influencer makes the same point, but with their platform.
Mm-hmm.
If
But
you
they just
care,
put unpopular opinion in front of it first.
yeah, I completely muted all that. And then they started using something else. It was unpopular. Oh, it was hot take. And it was unpopular opinion. And I muted them both. And I seen unpopular take. I was like, oh, I'm just done. Like,
Yeah.
but to the point, people just repeat the points other people have made, right? Because if I say something and it gets popular, then other people want to say the same thing to get popular. But if I cared about the information getting out, I would just repost the original person that did it instead of, well, let me say this for my followers. Well, if you got it from someone else, just continue to boost that person, right? But the goal there is not to actually spread the information. It's to be seen as someone who holds the knowledge about a thing that you've just heard other people say. To your other point, here's the thing about being a researcher. The problem is defined by the impact on our material conditions. I, as a researcher, and this is what I've had to explain to students, you don't get to just define the problem and go solving it. That's the purpose of the empirical research. I can observe it looks like there's a lot of kids not going to school. I don't get to go from that observation to saying, well, we need school buses. The empirical research that I do is going to tell me why the kids are late to school or why they're not going to school. So for me as a researcher, the changes and impacts on material conditions fundamentally define what the problem is. I can make an observation about what I see as the symptom of the problem, but the research is the thing that actually lets me know, oh, these are the factors that are contributing to it, right?
Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just recognizing something. I mean, I think I've heard you say that before, but I'm recognizing in this moment that because we are people who just watch, maybe not long enough to call it observation, but more more often than not, the thing that we identify as the problem, this is just like human condition. The thing we identify as the problem is not actually the problem. It's a symptom of the problem. We don't spend enough time observing, asking questions to get to what the problem actually is.
100%. Right. And that so for me, that's one of the reasons I went into sociology, right? Social sciences, because for me, I do quantitative and qualitative research because the numbers are going to show me patterns, right? People are going to tell me their experiences, and then I put the two together, and then I go say, well, let me collect some data based on what I've observed and studied,
Yeah.
and see if I can find. And here's the crazy part: then you got to actually test out the solution before you suggest it to other people to implement.
Before we get to the recommendation part of the paper.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're skipping all of that. So for me, that's
too much work, man.
Exactly.
I just want to be a hero, man.
I get it. I do.
I just want people to know my name, man.
Yup. That's where we at with it. Because what I'm talking about, that ain't nothing but the work. Because as much as you and I appreciate Joyce Ladner, I would be I have never taught a class where I've introduced her and any of the students have known who she was prior to me introducing her.
I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how I found her. I mean, I've known about her for a long time, but I don't know how maybe it was from seeing lists of like students who got kicked out or whatever and ended up at Tougaloo. Maybe in just doing like cursory, like who is this person? But yeah, if it wasn't that, because I can't say for sure that's what it was, but if it wasn't that, I have no idea how she came to my awareness.
Wow. I got lucky. Not lucky. I found her because I was looking for her. Like I said, I say this all the time. I didn't come into the space of academia thinking white people were as smart as academia wanted me to believe they were. I came into academia reading brilliant Black people. So when someone was like, well, have you considered sociology? When I finally took a sociology class, I was like, I'm not going to make it because we haven't talked we just talking about white men in Europe and what they thought and how they understood the world. And I have read enough to poke holes in these arguments, but I'm not able to poke holes in these arguments because the discipline doesn't make space for that critique.
Yeah.
And then I found Joyce Ladner's The Death of White Sociology and was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Because it introduced me to so many other Black sociologists. Then I was like, oh, I don't need to cite none of these white people ever. And then my committee was like, yeah, you do. We're not going to let you pass unless you cite some of these white people. But I found her because...
You was like George Washington said one time.
Allegedly, right? Couldn't even. Yeah. Allegedly. Said one time with the teeth of other people in his mouth. Crazy. But I think that's the rub. What I loved doing all the time I was a professor was introducing Black students to the tradition of research, understanding how to go about getting the information necessary to wrestle with the problem, to try to figure out how to address it. And the truth that you said previously, a lot of folks, they're one, they don't know how rigorous it is, right? Two, it's not a sexy thing to be doing, especially when there's other sexier things to do.
But it's also not foreign to us. Like I don't know clearly I don't know nearly as much as you do about the the formal processes and what research. But like we've talked about this before, qualitative data is grounded in just having conversations with people. That's sitting on the front porch talking.
Yeah.
That's
That's
collecting data.
that's the data part. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that academia has done and continues to do is tries to mystify things that perhaps not with as much rigor, because people gotta like live and work and stuff, but like it tries to mystify things that are just a part of who and how we are anyway.
I think I will push back
Okay.
because I don't think we're that way anymore.
Well,
So
yeah.
I think but the reason I would push back is because I think that we are operating as if we're still that way when we're not. So
Mm.
what was happening is we were learning a lot of those
Touche.
tenets and traditions and things. Look, I say this all the time. It'll be in a book I write someday. But the reason why I was so good in grad school is because I grew up listening to listening to music and reading liner notes. So when the
Mhm.
idea of citations was introduced to me, I was like, "Oh, duh! This is just like figuring out what the sample source is for this song I
Yeah.
like."
And who
Right?
produced it? And yeah.
But the generation of young folks now, because they're not engaging Black culture that way, they don't have those skills that translate into academia, right? So because when my grandma was, making her caramel cake, I would just sit and watch. I learned how to closely observe stuff. I'm not saying the grandma's not making cakes no more, or the kids not watching grandmas make cakes no more, but somehow we are losing recipes.
Well, but I think because even folks who are sitting watching grandma or mama or auntie whoever making caramel cakes, sure, people are still doing that, and they're doing it while they're also scrolling on their phone and whatever else. So there are so many more things demanding our or begging for our attention that we would just we acquiesce to it, and that
Yes. And we don't credit how much we're losing when we do that.
I'm trying to watch my face because somebody told me that I be using my ugly thinking face won't talk. But
If your thinking face isn't ugly, are you really thinking if your thinking face ain't ugly?
so but that made me wonder though about the part that white hegemony plays in stripping us of or offering up distractions, stripping us of the purity of one-on-one interactions or whatever group interactions, sans other things demanding our attention.
100%. And I think to the 100%. And to the extent that we are more intimately involved in
The
whiteness,
production of the distractions.
we we become more vulnerable to it. Like, so in a documentary I did in Colombia with the Black community there that is descendants of African Maroons, one of the things that they continue to talk about is how, like, a lot of the most sacred things in their culture, you got to just learn from somebody else who did it, right? They're like, there's not a shortcut to this.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's how they continue to operate, if you want to learn this thing, you have to be like committed to the process. But it happens early. Like, for the people I interviewed talk about how from a young kid, the primary things you learn are just by watching people do it and then mimicking it and playing it. um which speaks to my point. Like, white hegemony has this obsession with the idea of efficiency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
not acknowledging that, again, mystifying it, making it seem like the ways that we do things that have been done this way for years, generations, is not scientifically methodical, right? If my grandma has refined this recipe from her grandma and grandma's grandma and it comes to me, that's testing over time. That's reliability and validity over time. But you mystify it as, oh, that's just, and then you tell me that you can do it a more efficient way with your process.
Dang, I forgot what I was about to say. Yes, I agree.
So I think that and that's what happens. So now again, this is where the AI and stuff comes in. This is where Mark Lamont Hill is like, you can't use it as a source
Oh,
because
wait. I'm sorry. Just so I don't forget. Um, it the other thing is in its obsession in white hegemony's obsession with efficiency, it is also bizarrely obsessed with newness. And so that is how we just from back we are pathologized because it is obsessed with newness, and we, because of our ancestors journeys here and reestablishing and whatever, so much of what we do, despite the fact that we're losing recipes, is rooted in generation after generation after generation after generation. Like, what can we hold on to? And particularly in this country, not only is it obsessed with newness, but it's obsessed with destruction. And I say that because you can go to Rome, right, and still see the Colosseum. Like all of these old things. If that was here, that that stuff would have been ripped down and some condos would have been built. Like we don't have an appreciation, this country, not we, I do, but we don't have an appreciation for anything that has stood the test of time.
100%.
Yeah.
And part of it, I'll hold on to this, is because this country was created, this empire was created by destroying and rewriting history in its foundation. Because this country could not exist if it did not destroy and rewrite its own, like Dr. Amos Wilson says this all the time, like white historiography is created because y'all folks Europeans.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a white American.
Mm-hmm.
Like y'all literally had to erase y'all's European history
Mm-hmm.
and all
And
the
start
indigenous
anew.
history and literally start new. So I think that fascination, that obsession with newness, because that's the only thing that's American. America is,
It's uniquely American.
yes. Even, and I say this because even European colonial empires will still have the ruins to show you, yeah, we used to be something bigger than what we are now.
Yeah.
Well, we're
Yeah.
not going to destroy what we had
Yeah.
to erase the history of it.
Yeah, there is, this sounds ridiculous, but there is a respect, even in the respect for what was, even in the gross capital W whiteness. There's
Yes.
still a space outside of this country. There's a little space to be like, oh, see what used to be.
Yeah, and somebody put, it said, did you see the article about how AI companies are getting rare books, uploading the info, and then destroying the book? Exactly
The
to our
young
point.
women in BGRI were just talking about that.
Yep, exactly to our point.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to destroy the evidence to create the new narrative.
Mm-hmm.
What bothers me about this conversation of public intellectualism is I belong to a tradition of Black guerrilla intellectuals that are trying to ensure that even if you destroy that you can never destroy the knowledge that comes from those books, right? Teaching stuff, trying to get students to read stuff is a way to maintain those recipes. The problem we run into is they're being told that they don't have to do it to be successful, to be valued as smart, to profit off ideas of intellectualism. So it becomes a hard sell for somebody who's not. It becomes a hard sell because they're even telling people who are invested in Black liberation that AI is the way.
And see, this then goes to, for me, a conversation about how intimately close both tradition and faith are. And I don't mean faith in, like, do you practice Islam or Christianity, but a faith in a something that you don't see anymore. So a part of, if you're destroying the rare books, then I have to have a faith in charity, in my aunt, my grandmother, my whoever, that the thing that I cannot see is a thing that once existed. And I have to believe in the thing that you're telling me once existed.
And this is where we're in a dangerous space. We're in a dangerous space. And this is why, again, I'm off social media right now, because so much of what is happening is farming of our history to figure out how to destroy and rewrite it. So I don't know if y'all have been paying attention, but there's so many questions now that say, like, my husband's telling me this never happened. Tell me you remember such a thing. Now, initially, it can seem like a very sincere question, but when you realize that there's 30 different accounts asking different versions of the same exact question, but if you don't have the critical analysis to say something's weird about this, but they're farming information about our experiences to figure out what to remove, what to rewrite,
what comes up consistently. Okay, so this thing must be true.
No, well, say what you're saying.
I'm saying in the farming, if I have 73 bot accounts asking this same question in one variation or another, the thing that keeps coming up is the thing that must be universally true.
I think so. That's not what I'm saying, but
sorry.
Because here's the problem. What's happening is this is why I had to take a break, because it doesn't matter what people's real experiences are, because there's going to be enough bots giving the answer that they want to feed people that don't actually have that experience.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So if I say, man, I remember when we used to go to school after Labor Day, right? That was the literal thing that, like, school starts in Memphis on the 6th.
Oh, school here already started.
Right. So when I tell people, oh, we used to start after Labor Day, right? If they don't know people who started after Labor Day and they put in, this is to your point, and they put in like, when did school start or when did school used to start? The more people enter, school starts in August, to your point, now people are going to argue with me. Well, this is the people who screenshot the AI summary and then respond to what you say using that. Because, right, over time, it becomes accepted as a universal truth.
Yeah.
It's very odd. It's very odd because we become outliers just because we're curious enough or skeptical enough.
Curious enough, skeptical enough, or human enough.
Yes, just human.
I want to ask one more question, and then we can go to the chat.
What up, Kat?
So
6th of August.
If Deontay Kyle and Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens and...
Why are you trying to hurt my heart today?
I was trying to think of somebody else.
Amanda Seals. If we go in
Amanda
there, let's
Seals.
look
Okay,
it up.
Amanda Seals. If they are, let's say they pass the smell test for what a public
Why would
intellectual
you do
is.
that?
No,
I'm
but
trying.
this I'm being sincere. If they are public intellectuals, who holds them accountable?
They are not. But the reality is nobody's holding them accountable because they're not they don't serve anybody. So there's nobody to hold them accountable because they don't care, they're not trying to do anything. Like we could just name them. The dude who was selling the gold in the 19 keys. Um
No idea who that is.
the new one with the braids. He does political stuff. Josh something. Because he got called out because he was promoting that Aisha AI thing, right?
Okay,
And
I know
people
I
were
know
like,
what
for
that
somebody
is.
who speaks so much about political consciousness and black people being aware, the fact that you jumped on this like that calls us into question about your motives, right? Consciously.
Oh, I
None of
forget
those
that person.
people are fundamentally invested in outside of what can be monetized via social media.
Personally advantageous.
Right. And not saying that at a time they weren't, but there's nothing wrong with deciding at some point in your life you just want to run it up.
So you do get to change your mind.
Yeah, but if you change your mind, your actions are going to change based on how your mind changed. Right. I don't know what, people who nobody holds them accountable because they're not part of any community. Accountability is something that your community holds you to. If I say something crazy on
And a
one of these podcast
psychophant
episodes,
is not
100%.
community.
100%.
Yeah.
Somebody I know is going to check me if I say something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whether it be you, somebody in my real life is good. No, we don't have beef with Consciously. Not beef. There's no beef. But
We don't eat red meat.
yeah, he's a talking head. There's nothing wrong with it. I know he's on his way down to Memphis to march. Like, we don't got like we gonna follow you the whole way, huh? And then when you get here, you're gonna be at the march with the people that's at the march. And then you're gonna leave and go back to where you came from. And Memphis still gonna be Memphis. But you can say that at a time where Memphis was popular in conversations about black political uh like voter suppression and stuff like that, you could say he was there. Right? Which you were, you know.
Does he have
But
a blue vest?
that I wasn't gonna bring him, but that's where it comes from. How at least he was moving to cities and staying for a little bit.
Yeah, we for sure can give him that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Motivation changes when standards change. 100%. Right. But we
Let's
oh yep. Our March with King 2026 version. Fam. As a person who's in Memphis, seeing how many people have descended on this city to act like they're part of the thing.
well,
Yikes. Because they don't even like it here. They trying to act like they care about here. And they don't even understand. They don't even do enough due diligence to understand the dynamics here. Super quick. Most people don't even know that Memphis has a city mayor and a county mayor.
yeah. That when
That
I
that
learned that,
complicates your
I think I
whole
was
political trajectory when the politics are set up like that. And to
I think
come
I was
down
in
here
grad
talking
school when
about,
I learned that. I was so confused.
and if
Like
you don't
what?
understand that, there's a lot of things about Memphis politics that you're going to that you're going to speak to because of what you know about how politics runs other places, right? Like when I explained to people that the representative for the black district in Memphis that everybody was talking about has been a white dude for 20 years. And they were like, wait, I thought we was fighting so the district would not, right. Because again, just do your due diligence to figure out the dynamics here. Why a county mayor?
No one knows.
Historically, it goes back to racism. It goes back to the fact that because the city was predominantly Black, there was a fear that Black folks would be able to wrangle political power in the city. So they decided to have a county mayor to try to dilute the potential political power of a city mayor that may operate in the interest of Black Memphians. Mm-hmm. And that's just the short answer. But yeah. But I say that to say, like, there's no accountability because they're not in any community. Because the community that you're a part of, and community doesn't exist online, right? You can be in community with people that you are in community with online, but community exists in the continual communing of people to work together, right? If you're having conversations with strangers online, those people aren't your community because they fundamentally can't hold you accountable.
I was gonna say unless the relationship translates into like your everyday life.
Yeah, that's why I said strangers.
Yeah.
Right? People be on threads like, hey, friends or
Thramily. Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't none of y'all coming to my birthday party?
You had a birthday party?
Never.
Never?
Not as an adult.
Oh, I have to fix that for you. Let's look at some comments before we roll out.
I think this
Hey, Jazz.
Hi, I'm Jasmine.
Hey.
I love your show. Oh, and also I love the way that you explained the research process. I'm in my PhD and I'm trying to get out of it. And so, but I loved the way you were talking about things. I just wanted to say hello.
Thank you. That's awesome.
I know that was so cute and unexpected.
Welcome. That's good. Listen, best wishes in your PhD program. Get finished as soon as possible. You know.
Yeah. Yep. And I like what you guys are talking about with the AI, because AI is just like, I don't think people think about the ethical implications of how people are using it and what it's being used for, and also the resources that it takes to sustain it. I don't know. There's a lot going on, and I don't think most people know all of the things that are kind of working against regular everyday folks when it comes to the advent of new technology. And I say that as a person that's like been working on developing technologies. And so I'm just like the more you work on creating things or developing stuff, the more you realize like, wow, in the hands of the wrong person, this could actually have a lot of repercussions on people that don't even know it exists.
That's 100% true.
Like, yeah. I bemoan the horrors of AI as a person who uses it, and it has been really helpful to me in my day-to-day work, right? But also, and not let me say but, because, you know, I'm not trying to excuse myself. And I think, again, using it as a tool, there's a difference between using it for, I don't know, I'm making this up, mind mapping, as opposed to being like, oh, make Charity's head wrap a different color. Like, that's what you want to use water for?
The water.
So, yeah. Well, it's great to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Nice to meet you too. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
That was awesome.
That was. I didn't know we could do that.
I feel like a host of like a 90s talk radio show. Like,
I didn't know that was a thing we could do.
That was awesome.
Oh god.
Caller, are you that was freaking awesome. That's pretty dope. Going to the chat. Says, I got out of my PhD by quitting and not getting a PhD. Listen, man.
I mean, you know.
I tell people getting a PhD is the thing that don't kill you and make you stronger. Like there's at this point there's empirical evidence that shows that black women that autoimmune symptoms present in grad school for black women. Like there's actually empirical research that acknowledges like, yeah, when I got in grad school I started having a lot of health problems, and a lot of it is because we're being pushed to a lot of times we're being pushed to deny the indigenous and ancestral ways of knowing that have kept us and our people alive, to fundamentally adopt and trust and reproduce white systems of knowledge that have been part of our destruction.
I mean, that's part of what I don't know if you remember me talking about this when Jared was on the show, but I even think that about the push for entrepreneurialism. Like, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. And a part of there are things about my life that are a lot better for sure. And a part of that just comes with like getting older, making more money, like whatever. And then there are things about my life that I would if I could have parts of my life from 20 years ago, 15 years ago, before like the constant stress and anxiety and like, yeah, give me that.
Yeah.
And some things are difficult to undo. Anyway, we'll talk about that another day.
It says the AI is being pushed from one single institution and program. I contend scary the way it's used in primary education. It is. A friend of mine had some research he was doing pulled when this new regime destroyed the NIH, but him and some of his colleagues were doing research about how the way that AI and social media rewire like young brains is creating like new DSM-5 categories of like neurological like disorders. So yes, the fact that it's being pushed on kids, the fact that most institutions are now wanting employers and employees to use it in hiring, in everything. And at the risk of sounding conspiracy theorist, one thing I don't think people pay enough attention to is that a lot of folks are just invested in AI because you gotta build it up before you pull out all your money and it falls. So a lot of the folks who are invested in AI, they do know how detrimental, how damaging it is. They are fundamentally betting on how addictive and consuming it is so they can profit off of it. And they're perfectly okay with when the bottom falls out that they're the ones left with a whole bunch of money, even if society's ability to think for itself is destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
because at least you had the money to rebuild, to make some fashion of a life for yourself. That's right. All they care about.
Because I've started to see people acknowledge that it's growing too fast for it to be reined in, but the people are pushing it to grow fast because the faster it grows, the faster and the bigger your money grows.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just like with SpaceX. This is the problem with having integrity, because if you put money in
it's so inconvenient.
It is, because you know it's going to make money, but the people who didn't pull their money out in time, they're screwed. The people who actually thought the technology was going to do what they said it was going to do, they're screwed. But it's all like the fact that the whole AI thing is a shell game is scary.
The Peacock has a documentary, I think it's like 90 minutes, called the AI Doc. I would suggest people watch it. If you're like me, you'll only be able to watch it once. But yeah.
Yep, same with crypto. People know it's gonna crash, but they like, let me get my bag before it does. You said the AI doc?
It's called the AI doc.
Scary stuff, man. Well, yeah, I think we. Any other comments?
Oh, I definitely don't. That's the only thing I think Guy Fieri and I have in common. I didn't even know that Guy Fieri didn't like eggs. It's hard to get the real rest that recharges you. Like sleep and rest aren't exactly the same thing. Well, yeah, that's not just for you. They aren't the same thing.
Yep. Yeah, time off and yeah, that's a.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ron tried to forge a paper. Yeah. They had to be in class sometimes.
Oh, that's great.
That is great. Well, I mean, grad school is. How do we distinguish between the hustlers and the real
intellectuals?
Oh, the real public intellectuals are going to be the people that are actually in community with you.
And I also think consistency.
That's what I mean.
Paying attention to
100%. They're the people who are accessible enough to wrestle with you through the thing that they have expertise in. If they're like,
and will change their mind out loud and don't mind saying it. Like, this is a thing I've been wrestling with. This is so random, but I was talking about just the other day. I was talking about Carlton Pearson. He was a Pentecostal pastor, Kojic, I think, and then came to what he offered up, called the gospel of inclusion, where he got kicked out of the church and all kinds of things. But I think, if a person is willing to examine and test their own ideas about a thing, they're not just here for the dollar.
Yep. Yeah, we've lost a lot of that. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Is Charity done being a professor forever? Nah, this is what I do. Like, whether I'm doing it in an institution or not, that don't matter. Like, this is literally what I do. Like, I'll meet.
That's what I put in the chat. She's a professor at the Lighthouse now.
Yeah, wherever folks are gathered and want to wrestle through some data or through some theory, I'm with it. That's the action I'm with.
Yeah. So that's what I was talking about with the tradition and faith to this comment. And when the generation who has physical memory perishes, the new stereotype. Yeah. And they're trying to convince us that tradition and that belief in the thing is not enough, and while also actively destroying the thing that would have given us the physical evidence.
Yep.
So we went through a lot today.
We did. We appreciate y'all for coming through, joining us. You feel me?
Yeah. This was fun.
Black August starts tomorrow. You feel me?
Oh yeah.
It do.
We'll talk. We'll talk a little bit about that next time.
For sure.
But yeah, thanks y'all. I just noticed that we both have on Lighthouse shirts today.
Sure do.
This is my Lighthouse shirt. All right.
Oh, that one. Hold on.
You don't have this one?
No.
Oh, yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. It was great.
I can't go out without changing my clothes, my shoes, my body posture. I can't do what I want to do with my own body. And who in the hell set things up like this? I was wrong again to be me being me where I was. Wrong to be who I am. I am very familiar with the problems of the CIA and the problems of white America in general, and the problems of the teachers and the preachers and the FBI and the social workers and my particular mom and dad. I am very familiar with the problems because the problems turn out to be me. I am the history of the terrorized incarceration of myself. I am the history of battery, assault, and limitless armies against whatever I want to do with my mind and my body and my soul. I am not wrong. Wrong is not my name. And I can't tell you who the hell set things up like this, but I can tell you that from now on, my resistance, my simple and daily and nightly self-determination may very well cost you your life.